Alright, so my presentation was on Jewish Americans, and honestly, I was really excited to do it on this because I am Jewish, but there were a lot of things about my heritage that I had no idea about. When people would ask me questions, I just had no idea how to answer them either. So, the Jewish population in 2013, according to the Bremen Jewish Data Book, they estimated that there were 13,854,800 Jews, and of that, 5,425,000 of them live in the United States. So that's a big portion of people living in the United States. So the possibility that you're going to come across someone in a counseling session that's Jewish is probably pretty high. So it states that the most is in Israel, and that's 43%. 39% of the Jewish population lives in the United States, and 18% lives everywhere else. But they actually estimate that that amount's higher, but because of the difficulties it is there with people like knowing if they're Jewish or doing accurate testing, they aren't able to get a definite answer. So this was a true and false test I was going to give to the class, but it's to be Jewish, well, true or false, to be Jewish you must practice Judaism. And it went one at a time, but to be Jewish your parents must also be Jewish. And converting to Judaism does not make you Jewish. And then the answer would pop up that said all these answers are false. So this is one of the questions that I had the hardest time with, because my mom told me that I was Jewish, and then I would get asked the question, well, do you practice Judaism? And I would say no. And they were like, well, you're not Jewish then. I'm like, well, my mom wouldn't tell me it if it wasn't true. So, and I don't know, it was frustrating and I had no idea how to answer those questions. So by doing this assignment, I finally figured it out. So there's a variety of ways that a person may be Jewish. It's possible that it's in their ethnic background or ancestry, which is what it is with me, or it's possible that the person had converted to Judaism. Now, if the person practices Judaism but has not formally converted, then they're not considered Jewish. And so it is possible, like the true and false question stated, that a person who follows the religious practices of Judaism can't be Jewish without having family members who are. And then someone who has Jewish ancestors are also Jewish, even if they don't practice Judaism. And I found this video that does a really good job of explaining it.
Hi, my name is Moshe Zelpin. I'm a teacher at Aisha Torah in Jerusalem. Imagine you're sitting on the train, you're sitting on the subway, talking on your phone to a friend about plans for Rosh Hashanah, Passover. You hang up the phone, and the guy beside you says, did you say something about Passover? Are you Jewish or something? And you feel a little weird, and you say, yeah, I'm Jewish. So the person says, I've always wondered, what exactly are you guys? What does it mean to be Jewish? Is it like a club or something? Who are you guys? What do you guys do? What does it mean to be Jewish? So here you have 3 minutes to talk to this person about what being Jewish is. So you say, it's a religion. There's Jews, there's Christians, there's Buddhists, there's Muslims. I'm Jewish. So the man says to you, oh, you're religious? So you say, well, no, I'm actually not religious at all, but I'm Jewish anyway. And he kind of looks at you and says, oh, so it's a religious thing, but you don't have to be religious to be part of it? Then that doesn't really make any sense, because Christians believe in Jesus, right? And Buddhists believe in Buddha. But being Jewish, you don't have to believe anything and you're still Jewish? Then you're not a religion. So you take a second attempt, and you say, well, you're right. You know what it really is? I'm Jewish not because of what I believe in. I'm Jewish because we're like a nation. We're a nation. All Jews are part of this thing called the Jewish people. So he says to you, oh, where does the nation live? In Israel? So you say, yeah, well, I don't really live in Israel. And he says, what language do you guys speak? Hebrew? You say, yeah, but I don't really speak Hebrew. You say, well, how do Jews dress? And what's your culture? And what's your history? And you say, well, the truth is, we live in lots of countries, we speak lots of languages, we dress in lots of different ways, we eat lots of different foods, we have lots of different history. There's the Ethiopian Jews, the Yemenite Jews, the Sephardic Jews, and Ashkenazi Jews, and we live all over the place. So he looks at you and says, then you're not really a nation either. Because French people live in France and they speak French. Italian people live in Italy and they speak Italian. So you're not really a nation. So what makes you Jewish? What ties all Jews together? So you take a third attempt and you say, you know what it is? We're all Jewish because we come from our Jewish parents. It's like, you're right, it's not a religion. It's not a nationhood. It's like a race. We're all part of the same race. We're ethnically Jews. So this non-Jew says to you, well, I did hear there's a thing called converts. You don't have to be born Jewish to become Jewish. So you can't be a race either. Because there's Chinese people who are Chinese because their parents are Chinese. But being Jewish has nothing to do with that because you could be Jewish just because you chose to be Jewish. That's not a race. So you're not really a religion, and you're not really a nation, you're not really a race. So what the heck are you? And if you think about it, you gather a group of Jews into a room, look at any Jewish gathering, and you say, what's the one thing that ties us all together? Where no matter what we live and what language we speak and what religion we follow and whatever we practice, whatever we believe, wherever we come from, whatever our ancestry is, converts, non-converts, what binds us together? What makes us Jews? It's so unusual. So this question bothered me for years until I finally found an answer. Rabbi Yadin Steinsaltz, in one of his books, writes that the Jewish people are called one thing consistently in the entire Torah. We're called B'nai Yisrael, the children of Israel. So when I read that, I thought about it. What does it mean that we're all the children of Israel? Who's Israel? Well, if you look biblically, Israel is this fellow named Jacob. His name got changed to Israel. But really, we're called the children of Jacob. The children of Israel, the children of Jacob. We're all Jake's kids. Every Jew you meet in the world is just another one of Jake's kids. So when you realize that for every Jew you ever bump into, you're bumping into another one of Jake's kids, what does that define us all as? It defines us as a family. Being Jewish is a part of this special thing called the Jewish family. How do we understand converts? A convert is somebody who got adopted into the family. And when you adopt somebody new into your family, they're part of your family just like everybody else. They take on your name. They sit at the dinner table with you. You treat them like all your other kids. Your family is your family. When I discovered this idea, I was sitting in a bookstore. I started walking down the stairs of the old city to the Kotel because I was going to go and pray. And I looked around me at all of these Jews, secular Israeli soldiers, Hasidim, American tourists, Ethiopian Jews, people arguing with each other in a very Israeli way. I looked around me and I said, wow, you know what Jews really are? We're like the world's biggest, most dysfunctional family. That's who we really are. And yet somehow we stick together, somehow we know we're all in the same boat, and somehow we know whether you're a practicer of Judaism or you're not, whether you're observant or you're not, whether you're living in Israel or you're not living in Israel, you speak the language, you know the customs, you follow the holidays or you don't, Jews are Jews. And if we know that we're a family, that's the clue that's going to help us stick together and love each other and stick throughout all time doing the job Jews are supposed to do in the world.
Okay, so that video basically explained like the same kind of stuff that like I went through and people would ask me. Like I would come up with like answers that fit for the time and then be like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? And I just didn't know how to answer them. So that's why that video and just doing this presentation in general really helped to be able to answer those questions. But some things that are important to Jewish culture, well, most Jewish culture. While only roughly 40% of Jewish people claim that Judaism is an important part of their life, many do celebrate the Yom Kippur, Hanukkah, and Passover. And since most people know what Hanukkah and Passover are, I'm going to focus on the Yom Kippur. It's typically considered the most important holiday, and it's the Day of Atonement. So people who usually don't go to the synagogues or claim to have a huge Jewish faith basically will typically still do these things. But Jewish people who follow this holiday, they'll take the day off work and they fast from the night before Yom Kippur to sundown of the night after, or I guess the night of it. And then they refrain from bathing or using makeup or deodorant. And then on this day, they usually wear white because it's the color of purity, and they're atoning for their sins. So they're trying to be pure, and they're atoning for the sins they committed throughout that whole year. And finding their values was pretty difficult since being Jewish in general is just a wide range. So what I focused on was 13 principles of faith that were important to Judaism, for the Jewish people who follow Judaism. And the first one is that God exists. The second is God is one and unique, because they only follow the first 5 books of the Bible, so it's before Christianity believes that Jesus came, so they don't believe that Jesus came. And God is incorporeal, God is eternal. Prayer is to be directed to God alone and no one other. The words of the prophets are true. Moses' prophecies are true, and Moses was the greatest prophet. The written Torah, which I said is the first 5 books of the Bible, the oral Torah, they were both given to Moses, And there will be no other Torah. God knows the thoughts and deeds of men, and God will reward the good and punish the wicked, and the Messiah will come, and the dead will be resurrected. So they don't really believe in the Second or the New Testament, which is what Christianity really builds off of. And these are for the people that follow Judaism. And now I realize that these pictures are really graphic. There's a point behind them. So I was going to have the class look at these pictures and ask how it made them feel. And to me, looking at these pictures, it's almost heartbreaking that people had to go through something like this. Even if I wasn't Jewish, it's a horrible event that went on all over the world. So what I was going to say after the class gave their opinions was imagine someone telling you that this horrific event didn't actually happen. And that's a lot of what Jewish people get told. I guess not a lot, but it's a belief out there, is that the Holocaust was a hoax perpetrated by European Jews to justify the occupation of Palestine and creation of Israel. So it's just, I don't know, it's hard to imagine someone who's lost family members in the Holocaust and just seeing everything that's going on and having stories passed down, and then have someone tell you that no, this never actually happened. But another belief is that Jewish people are responsible for wars, Mel Gibson said that he was responsible for that Jews were responsible for all the wars that ever existed, basically. And that problems occurring in the Middle East are due to the Jews. And there was one situation in the book where a man went and shot a woman because Jews are responsible for the problems in the Middle East, basically. And there are a lot of problems that Jewish people face living in America. And it's not that they're so different from what other Americans face or what other cultures face. It's just what their traditional views were. Like, it's hard to explain, but the differences have been drastic, basically. So, like in the 1970s, the divorce rate for Jewish families used to be rare, but now it's become more common where like 1 in 3 marriages fail, and then there are children who are raised in divorced families. And then alcoholism in Jewish adults is between 5 and 15%, which I guess you wouldn't really think of as that high, but when you see what it was before to now, it's been a big change within I guess it's been like 40 years. And then alcoholism is seen as a personal or family problem, so that's important to keep in mind in counseling. If someone who comes in with a drinking problem, that you want to work on them, but you also want to get their family involved, because like Jewish culture in general is like usually big on family and being close with your family, and we'll see that in the next slide, I believe. And then Jewish schooling and summer camps for children and synagogue membership can be expensive. So if there's Jewish families living in America that want to keep their Jewish heritage or religion alive, it can be a financial burden on them to be able to do so. And then Jewish holidays are not typically considered days that are allowed to be taken off at work. So while Christian holidays get Christmas and Easter off, which is to celebrate a bunny, the Jewish faith has to like fight to get their days off, and they can get like repercussions for it basically at work. And then one of the biggest problems that's facing the Jewish population right now is the decline in the population. And that's due to a lot of different factors. It's a problem that I can't really think of happening with any other culture. And it has to do with like them marrying outside of like the Jewish ancestry. It doesn't have so much to do with faith, because that can be passed on to your child. But when a Jewish male marries a not Jewish female, the child isn't Jewish if it goes along with like their heritage. And I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't really figure out why that was the way. It's just like a matriarchal thing. And so they're really worried about like the Jewish population basically becoming extinct. And then people are staying single longer. And that's not just with Jewish faith, that's happening in the society in general. But because traditional Jewish families would be like the male, the female, and then a bunch of kids, it's like a big change for them that's really hard to get accustomed to. And then they're having less children as well. So that also adds to the decline in like the heritage being passed down. And I came across this quote that I really like, but I don't know, it really makes me think. It's the historic Jewish family in various countries and in various periods has demonstrated great resilience in the face of physical, spiritual, and economic pressures. Ironically, it is the relative absence of these pressures in America which presents a challenge to Jewish survival. And I've thought about this quote for a while. And when I originally looked at it and like put it in my PowerPoint, I was like, oh, I really like that. And then when I was going over it today, I decided, like, I still like it, but I don't know if I really agree with it. It's more that it makes me think. Because, yeah, the Jewish in general have gone through a lot of stuff. I mean, like, there's the Crusades, there's the Holocaust, there's a bunch of stuff. But I don't know if it's really like an absence of pressures in America. And I don't know, I'm still thinking about it. But because they come over here and it's, I don't know how to explain it. But it's because like our societies basically match up. And like when you're in Israel and whatnot, you're surrounded by other Jewish people. So it's easy to like marry within the Jewish, and if everyone there is like getting married at the same time, or I mean not at the same time, but like getting married and having lots of children, that's part of like that culture. So it's like a Israel Jewish culture basically. And then when you come to America, it's not that you like have to assimilate, because you don't, but it is really easy to. And especially if Jewish is like just a part of your heritage, it's not actually like a faith you believe in or anything like that, then you're basically just saying that, oh, I'm gonna marry a person with the same heritage just because, or I'm gonna get married and have lots of children just because I'm Jewish, if you don't have any like religious reasons for it, or really any reason for it. And I think that can be really difficult, because I mean, this is like a concern for Jewish people, that their population basically is going to die out. And I don't know if I thought my like important aspect of me, like I'm really like tied to like my Native American, like the Native American in me, and that's what I hold on to the most. So if I like truly thought that this was going to be the last of it, if I would marry someone who was Native American, so that would be passed on. And it's just, I don't know, it's something I like can't wrap my head around, basically, because I'm not in that situation. But yeah, I'm still thinking about that quote, because I just changed my opinion on it like a few hours ago. Oh, did I miss one? Yeah. Okay. So, things to consider in counseling sessions is that you don't want to automatically assume that Jewish clients practice Judaism, because I don't know if they would be offended by it, but it's not really appropriate, because there's the Jewish ancestry and heritage, and then there's the Judaism as the culture. And then family structures may be different. Like, as I said, if you're like working with someone older, they may still have the idea of like the mom and dad and lots of children kind of idea behind it, and that you should marry another Jewish person. Or you could have someone come in who is struggling with that, where they're trying to hold on to their Jewish faith or heritage, but also like are having trouble like assimilating, because they want to do those kind of things too. And then Jewish people do receive a lot of discrimination, so it's good to be cautious not to discredit or invalidate their feelings. That goes for any culture. And basically, as I said before, just like respect that their personal and family values may differ. Because if they do have the idea that their generation is dying, they may think differently. And I don't know, it's none of like our places to decide like if their values are right or wrong. And those are my references.